Hello, good people, and welcome to About.Lab. On About.Lab, we break down the major trending topics in Ghanaian football and also topics around the globe. Today, my focus is on the African Cup of Nations tournament in Morocco. We are just days away from the major tournament, and I'm absolutely buzzing. I know a lot of you out there are happy because the AFCON is coming back. The AFCON is always filled with drama, excitement, trails, and all you can name it. There are no minnows at the AFCON. Everybody shows up, and the underdogs sometimes prove themselves, and that's what makes the AFCON stand out, and that's what makes this continental showpiece one of the most watched around the world. A quick reminder that we have launched a giveaway with our sponsor 1xBet. Follow the link in the description and join our Telegram community, where 10 mobile routers are up for grabs to help you stay connected anytime. The winners will be announced on December 26th on our Telegram channel. And remember, new users on the official 1xBet platform can receive a 300% bonus on their first deposit when they use the promo code ABOUTGH. Today I'm going to look at the AFCON into detail. I'm going to talk about I'm going to look at the groups. I'm going to predict the teams that are likely to progress from the groups, and I'm going to give you my 3 favorites that I feel will go all the way to win the tournament. I'm going to also look at the dark horses, and I'll wrap it up with the players I feel or I believe could win the Golden Boot or could be the star players of the African Cup of Nations tournament that is coming up in Morocco. But before I get into it, you know, About.Lab welcomes opinions, and I've always said that anytime you watch an episode of About.Lab, drop a comment, tell me or disagree. I want you to disagree more with me. Yeah, an agreement is not something I really fancy. So disagree more with me so we can have some nice chit chat. So just like, comment, follow this page for all your exclusive news from Morocco. We are going to be there. Tanger, Agadir, Fez, Marrakech, Casablanca, Rabat, name it. We are going to tour Morocco and bring you all the player reactions, coaches reactions, fans reactions, and all the exclusive updates from the African Cup of Nations tournament in Morocco. Let's see. Let me just give you a brief history of the African Cup of Nations before I go into all the analysis of the groups and all that. So let me just give you a brief history about the African Cup of Nations. This is going to be the 35th edition of the tournament. This is a tournament that started in 1957. Initially, there were just 3 teams. South Africa were supposed to be part of the first edition, but because of the apartheid, initially you all know what apartheid was, and the government at the time, the kind of sanctions and all that they imposed on the country couldn't allow them to participate in the first ever edition. So they had only 3 teams, but we are heading into the 4th edition, the 4th time that we are going to have 24 teams. And this is huge for the African continent because in 2019, CAF decided that out of the 54 countries, it doesn't look good that only 16 teams have the chances to participate at the African Cup of Nations tournament. So they decided to increase the number and they put the number at 24. So the first ever 24 edition tournament was in 2019 in Egypt. Algeria won that tournament. And then we moved to Cameroon in 2021. That's Senegal emerged as champions. And then in 2023 in Ivory Coast, I was there. Very exciting tournament, and Ivory Coast ended up as champions. They hosted and they won the tournament. So that's just a quick history and a brief one regarding the African Cup of Nations. So out of the 24 teams, 16 are going to progress to the next round of the competition. So after the group stage, 8 teams are just going to be eliminated, and it means that there's still an opportunity. If you don't start the tournament really well, there's still a chance that you can win 1 game and still progress to the next round of the competition. Case in point, Ivory Coast, they just won their first game at the last edition of the tournament, and then they ended up going all the way to win the championship in Abidjan. That was last year, 2020. The tournament was supposed to come off in 2023, but it was moved to 2024. So that was it. So let me get into the group proper. Group A has Morocco, Mali, Zambia, and Comoros. Group B, there's Egypt, there's South Africa, there's Angola, and there's Zimbabwe. That's some interesting names. There's Zimbabwe are coming back to the African Cup of Nations. There's Group C, there's Nigeria, there's Tunisia, there's Uganda, and there's Tanzania. Group D has Senegal, DR Congo, Benin, Botswana. And Group E has Algeria, Burkina Faso, Equatorial Guinea, and then Sudan. So Group F, that's the last group, has Côte d'Ivoire, Cameroon, Gabon, and then Mozambique to wrap it up on the group stage. So let me quickly predict the 16 teams that I believe are going to progress from this group, this total of 6 groups. So group A, I'm going to pick Morocco. I'm going to pick Mali because I think Mali have an exciting team. Morocco, I'm going to get into Morocco proper when I talk about my favorites. I think Morocco are going to feed off of the energy of the fans at the stadium, and they're going to top this group. Group B, I'm tipping Egypt and South Africa. South Africa plays some very exciting football, so I'm tipping them to progress alongside Egypt. Group C, Nigeria and Tunisia looks hot favorites for this one to progress. And then there's Group D, I'm tipping Senegal and DR Congo. I don't think Benin or Botswana will give them any tough time there. So Group E also, I believe Algeria and Burkina Faso are going to progress from this group. And then Group F, I'm tipping defending champions Côte d'Ivoire and then Gabon. I know a lot of people are going to question why Cameroon are not part of my teams to progress from this group. But the thing is that Cameroon are in shambles. It's a lot of mess. They've named 2 squads. The coach who was sacked, McBride, said he insists he has not been sacked. Samuel Eto'o is in charge of it's a whole mess. I don't want to get into Cameroon. It's a whole mess out there. So I don't expect them to even do anything magical at this tournament. But you know, Cameroon, sometimes they thrive on chaos. They're a very chaotic team. When you least expect them, that's where they come and they prove everyone wrong. So I've mentioned 12 teams that I believe are going to qualify, but let me add the last 4. So the last 4, I'm going to say Group A, I'm going to pick Zambia. Zambia were excellent during the qualifiers, and I think they could progress as one of the 3rd best placed teams in this one. And I'm going to look at Equatorial Guinea from Group E. I'm tipping them to progress. Equatorial Guinea, we all know how they fared. They were actually top, I think they finished top of the group involving Ivory Coast and Nigeria in the last edition. They were absolutely brilliant. Emilio Nsue was a top scorer. He scored 5 goals for them, and he's back at the tournament. I'm also going back to Group D, and I believe Benin with Ghana Raw can do something. I think they are going to pick up at least 3 points. That is going to be enough for them to move on to the next stage of the competition. And I'll go back to Group B, and I'm going to pick Angola. They were very, very good in the last edition. They've had some experience also playing the defending world champions, that's Argentina, and they gave a very good account of themselves. So these are my 16 teams that I believe are going to move on to the next stage, are going to move on to the round of 16. So with the group predictions done, let me come to my 3 favorites. The 3 favorites that I feel are going to go all the way to win the tournament, and they have what it takes to win the tournament. So my first pick is host nation Morocco. Morocco are very exciting to watch. They are a brilliant side, led by Walid Regragui, who has established himself as one of the best coaches on the continent. But he needs a major trophy to back that claim, because you can talk about putting him in the same conversation with Hassan Shaiata, but Hassan Shaiata is a legendary, is absolutely legendary when it comes to the African Cup of Nations. He won it 3 on the trot. You can talk about a very good old Charles Kojo Jemfi, CK Jemfi, also won the African Cup of Nations as a player and also as a coach. These are legendary managers, but Walid Regragui wants to be part of them, and the only way he can be part of them is to win the African Cup of Nations, and this is a huge opportunity for him. Regragui comes into this tournament with a very impressive record. Since his appointment in 2022, he has overseen 46 matches, and he has an impressive record. Over 70% of that has produced as wins, so that's something to be laudable for. And those wins have come against some have come against Brazil, against Portugal, against Belgium at the World Cup. It's huge, and Morocco are coming into this tournament on a very good form. Remember, they played in the World Cup qualifiers and they were unbeaten. They were the first to qualify from the African continent. They were just unstoppable. They beat everyone comfortably in their World Cup qualifiers. And I feel they're going to translate this form into the tournament when the tournament starts. And also, don't forget, this is the tournament that they are hosting. This is the first time they are hosting the tournament since 1988. That's a long time ago, but they had I think they had the opportunity to host it in 2015, but we all know the backstory. Ebola happened and Morocco pulled out, and they became the enemy of CAF. But right now, it's as if Morocco is a darling boy of CAF, and everyone is so happy taking the tournament to Morocco. But back to the team proper. This is a team that has has the core of the team from the 2022 World Cup in Qatar that they reached the semi-finals, becoming the first African nation to do so. So they have the core of the team. There's Yassine Bono, there's El Naziri, there's Al Kabi, there's Abde Ezrazoui, there's Ashraf Hakimi, the current best player on the continent, although he's coming into the tournament with an injury. So they have a lot of star players to call on, and they are very direct, they are pacey, and I'm sure they're going to feed off from the energy of the fans, whether it's going to be in Rabat, whether it's going to be in Casablanca. They are just going to be unplayable. They're going to be very, very difficult to beat. And it feels like everything has been set out for Morocco to just go all the way, beat everyone available to them, beat anyone they come up against, and just win the tournament for the first time since 1976. That's going to be a huge party in Morocco if they are able to win the tournament for the first time since 1976. That's a long time ago. Ghanaian fans are crying about we not winning it since 1982. Someone has not won it since 1976. That's just by the way. My second pick is Senegal. Fantastic team. I think Senegal are the second best team in the continent. They are just behind Morocco, and Pape Thiaw has done an excellent job since coming to take over from Aliou Cisse. Aliou Cisse was sacked after Senegal's shock elimination at the 2023 African Cup of Nations. They lost to Ivory Coast on penalties. But Pape Thiaw has come in and has instilled some discipline, some confidence in the team. Case in point, the game that in their World Cup qualifiers, it was the game against DR Congo that I really respected Pape Thiaw, and I really thought that, okay, no, this is the Senegal of old. This is the 2021 Senegal or the 2019 Senegal. They are well and truly back, because in a game against DR Congo in Kinshasa, they went 2 goals down against the host nation, against a stadium of 80,000 capacity. But you could see the confidence in the side, in the eye. Ismail Assar, Sadio Mane, they were all very confident. All they kept saying was, calm down, we're going to get back into it. And they got a 3-2 victory in that game to eventually progress to the World Cup and make it to the United States of America. So I think Senegal are just perfect for this tournament. What happened to them in 2023, I think they are going to put it behind them. But if anybody is going to rival Morocco, or if anybody has the capacity or has the quality in their system to go all the way, I feel Senegal are one of the teams. And then my third choice is the defending champions. Take nothing away from Ivory Coast. They've been very, very good. And this is a team that during the World Cup qualifiers, I think that's I'm mentioning a lot of World Cup qualifiers because that's the last major competitive qualifier coming into this tournament. And Ivory Coast were in the same group as Gabon. And the thing is that Gabon had more than 20 points and they couldn't qualify. It means Ivory Coast went a step further. Ivory Coast won. They were unbeaten in the qualifiers. They only dropped points in the game against Gabon. So they were just excellent, very unplayable. And Ivory Coast have a lot of quality in their squad. They've named their squad, and I'm looking at the squad, and they've dropped the likes of Simon Adingra, who was the best young player at the last edition of the tournament. Nicolas Pepe, who came in strong in the latter stages of the competition, has also been dropped. But you look at this team and you say, hey, if these 2 exciting players have been dropped, then who have replaced them? A winger who plays as RB Leipzig, Diomande, who I think is very, very exciting to watch. This is one player that I have to look out for at the African Cup of Nations. As the core of the team that won the tournament is still around. This guy is around, and they are looking really, really good. I think they with the experience of Frank Kessie and the likes, and Sebastian Haller, the winner who scored the winner against Nigeria in the final in 2023, is also around. So MS Faye, I think he is coming and has done a tremendous job coming in the middle of the tournament, taking the team all the way to the final, winning it, and then being awarded a contract extension. And then what has he done is brought Ivory Coast back to the World Cup. So they're coming into this tournament really looking good, and I feel they could go all the way to win the tournament for the 4th time. Hey, if Ivory Coast win it for the 4th time, they've equaled Ghana's record. Wow. Let's move on from that. Let's just by the way. So let me look at my dark horses. Let me talk about my dark horses. These are teams that I feel on paper they might not be favorites, but they have a lot of individual quality and they play very well. And if they are able to sort out issues outside the football field, they can go all the way, or they can win the championship. Number 1 is Nigeria. Nigeria, take nothing away from them. they have a lot of individual quality, especially in attack. There's Ademola Lookman, there's Victor Osimhen, there's Chukwueze, there's Ako Adams. Charlie, Nigeria have a lot of star players, and these are players who are playing at the highest level in European football, consistently scoring goals week in, week out. So on any good day, Nigeria can win the tournament, and we could reference what they did in Ivory Coast. They went to the final, and they've also named their squad. I'm not seeing Ola Aina. Ola Aina is a big miss for them. He's just recovering. He's just coming back from injury, and this defender who has been very, very solid, was very solid for them during the World Cup qualifiers. Benjamin has also been dropped because of a serious injury, but their squad is looking good. They really have enough quality, and they just have to sort out the off-field issues, because Nigeria always comes into the tournament with huge expectations, but there's always something that's going to trouble them. Either there's some bonus, the players have not been paid. Remember the World Cup players, when the players had to threaten that they actually boycotted training for about 2 or 3 days, and saying they've not been paid some bonuses dating back to 2019. That's something that a country that says they are the African giants shouldn't be confronted with heading into a major tournament. So I think Nigeria, they have a very good coach also in Eric Shaw. They have to sort out all their off-field issues, and if they do so, they can be one of the teams that could rival Morocco, Senegal, and Ivory Coast for the title. My second team is South Africa. They are very good. Hugo Broos has won the AFCON before with Cameroon in 2017. He took a very young Cameroonian side, and also in the last edition, he came really close to South Africa. They still have the core of the team still available, and the good thing about this South African team is that majority of the players play in the local league, so they can decide that you're going to come for a month or two, or like let's say 4 weeks before the tournament. And they are the few teams that have been able to get a pre-AFCON friendly, because the AFCON is coming at a time that a lot of the nations have their players playing in competitively, so they are not going to release them in time for the tournament. I think FIFA set the dates that the latest that any team can release this player is December 15th. That's just let's say a week to the start of the tournament. But South Africa have that luxury, and Hugo Broos has been able to assemble a squad early. He was one of the first countries to name their squad, and they are getting a friendly against Ghana, and they are going to playing the Black Galaxies. So that's something that bodes well for the South African football. They can go into this tournament with confidence in themselves, also progress, also qualifying for the World Cup. Remember, they were in the same group with Nigeria, and they topped that group. And my third dark horse, I'm going to go with Algeria, simply because I think Algeria have won it before, and they know how to win it, especially when the tournament is hosted up north. Anytime the tournament is hosted in Northern Africa, it's always a North African team that does so. And I can cite many examples. In 2019, when Egypt hosted a tournament, Algeria won it. When Egypt hosted it in 2006, Egypt hosted and won it. They won it as the host nation. Also in 2004, when Tunisia hosted the tournament, Tunisia won it, and they went to the finals with Morocco. So the North African teams seem to thrive, or seems to do really, really well when they host the tournament. So, and Algeria, just a border nation with Morocco, their games are going to feel like home games. They are going to be very intimidating, and I'm not looking at it only purely because of the factors that, let's say, fans and all that. I'll talk about how their coach Vladimir Petkovic has come in and he's instilled some discipline, he's instilled some level of confidence in the side. This is a side that failed to qualify from the group phase in the last 2 editions of the tournament, and also failed to qualify for the Qatar World Cup. But Petkovic has come in, has transformed the team, led by their key man Mahrez, and they've qualified for the World Cup in 2026, and they are going into this tournament for the first time in many years, or the first time since they won it in 2019, as a very confident side. So Algeria, I also believe, can go all the way. If they get things right, if they are switched on from the onset, they can go all the way to win the tournament. Let me also predict my star players I feel can light up the competition. Victor Osimhen came in to the last edition as one of the best players on the continent, but I'm not sure, did he get a goal? I'm not sure he got a goal at the last edition. He was drawing blank. It was very, very hectic for Victor Osimhen there. But I'm tipping him. I think he's found a way. There's no pressure on him again because you're watching in the World Cup qualified. Could see he plays with a lot of confidence now in the Nigerian shirt. So I'm tipping him to be one of the stars. Emilio Nsue, the top scorer from the last edition with 5 goals, is back in the Equatorial Guinea squad, and I think anything can happen. Maybe he could win the Golden Boots again, but it's going to be difficult. Yusuf El-Kaabi, the Olympiacos man for Morocco. I feel Morocco have 2 quality strikers, but I feel El-Kaabi will slightly edge Nsue in this one because he looks the more sharper one at the moment. So I am tipping El-Kaabi to be one of the stars of the tournament. If Achraf Hakimi recovers quickly, then it could be one of the stars. And Ivory Coast, I'm sure they're going to count massively on Sebastian Haller. That's all to know today on the About.Lab. Today, I took you into the African Cup of Nations, and you could see the excitement on my face. This is a tournament that I absolutely love. It just hurts me that Ghana failed to qualify, but we are still going to be there to bring you all the exclusives from the tournament, from the fan zone, from the, what do we call it? Where the players pass after every game, the mix zone. Yeah, the mix zone. Yeah, that's the mix zone. So exclusive. Stay with this channel and do subscribe, like, and share. The African Cup of Nations tournament is going to be big, and it's going to be big on this platform.